Okay, we're at 1 minute past the hour, so I'm going to get started. I'm just too excited. There's too much in today not to get started straight away and start with this fantastic agenda of speakers and information that we've got to pass on to you all. So welcome to our M365 Community Day. So anyone that is a regular to the Cambridge Power Platform user group knows that once a year we do a full day event. We've done Power Platform boot camps in the past where we have 8 or 9 speakers during the day. And this year we really wanted to focus on something close to my heart and obviously that I'm trying to be quite influential in as an area. For me, women in tech is really, really important. And to stress, it's not about exclusion. There are some guys in here. We've got the lovely Luke in the background helping us with the call. We've also got Sancho Harker, MVP, in the background as a moderator for us. It's about inclusion. So it's about including as many people, as diverse an audience as we can, and celebrating the success of women in tech. So we've got some fantastic speakers today, and it's my job to introduce and to mediate and to make sure that everybody is having a good time. But I also wanted to introduce you to a couple of faces. I don't know if you can bring yourselves on screen, Luke. We've got Luke and Amber, the lovely Luke and Amber in the background, working away. There they are. Amber's been dealing with all of our administrative and speaker liaison. Thank you so much, Amber, for everything you do. And Luke is my techie. So he's in the background making sure that everybody that needs to speak can speak and all the presentations are running smoothly. So thank you very much to my fantastic team there in the background. Okay, let's get started. Let's jump straight in. So what we've got for you on the agenda to, oh, yeah, good point. Okay, so we always must be aware that we are in a meeting with others. We need to be friendly and patient and all of these things on the screen. Now, it goes without saying that when you're in presentations with first-time speakers and when you've got speakers that have taken time out of their life to either record or to attend and discuss something with us, that we need to be kind and considerate. But today we do have a lot of first-time speakers, so I'm especially asking today for a little bit of patience and understanding should we have any technical issues or speaker wobbles. They happen, and I really want to give these speakers the opportunity to come and pass on their skills and their knowledge. So let's be nice, let's be kind. We are on a webinar, so you can't interrupt the speakers, but we do have chat going down. I say here because it's there for me. We do have the chat going on down the side. Feel free to ask questions during sessions as well. Where possible, and if it's appropriate, I'll interrupt the speakers or Luke will, and we'll ask that question directly of the speaker during session. But where it's more appropriate, we'll leave those questions to the end. If you do put something inappropriate in chat, we reserve the right to remove you from the meeting. Also, please be aware that we are recording and that this will go on to YouTube at the end of the day. So if you don't want to be on that recording when you come, should we take you off mute or bring you in to ask a question, if you don't want to be on camera, then please don't turn your camera on because this is being recorded. There you go. Exits are here and here. Okay. So this is the agenda for today, loads and loads to get through. I'm going to do a small introduction about me and how I got to where I've got to in life. And then we've got Sheryl and Daisy, fantastic mother and daughter duo, really looking forward to this session. Moving on to some Viva topics, we've also got Viva Suite coming. We've got our fantastic, and I know she was in the chat, I don't know if she's disappeared already, fantastic keynote speaker, Charlotte Light, who I've had the pleasure of working with at the Aztec Group, to come and tell us about her story of success in technology. And then after a break, we're going to look at Syntex, we're going to look at Teams, we're going to look at OneDrive, Outlook, and accessibility. All really important topics, just showing you the diversity of skills that we've got in the women that are coming to speak for you today. So let's crack on, because I'm already eating into my own time. Not much to say about me. Hopefully those of you that have attended before know me. If you don't, ping me, find me on LinkedIn or on Twitter and let's chat. If you're enthusiastic and love all things Power Platform or business applications like I do, then let's have a coffee. virtual or otherwise. I'm based in Cambridge in the UK, so I'm really easy to get hold of. A little bit about me. So I'm a CEO of Business Cloud Integration Limited, who are the developers of Casper 365, one of the sponsors of today's session, and who you'll probably see in the background of my screen. I'm a massive evangelist of the Power Platform and Office 365, SharePoint Online. SharePoint in particular is where I come from, hence being known as SharePoint Sharon on LinkedIn. I'm a dual MVP this year, both business applications and M365 apps and services, which also encompasses the team's workloads. So I spend a lot of time and get some swag from Microsoft to work with them on new iterations of product, what's coming next, and making sure that we're out there sharing the information about how to use those products in the marketplace. So I'm very much a speaker that is concerned with business value. So Getting to Value Faster, the title of my book, which I'm still writing, will be coming out hopefully in the next 12 months. But very much my focus is around how we make businesses success. And it's become very clear to me over the last few years that that only happens when people have the opportunity to share their skills and to share their stories. And what better platform than a Women in Tech platform to show what powerful speakers we have out there, what information we have to share both with businesses and from businesses to help make everybody in the tech community successful. So my role here is really to pay it forward. So as a community leader, my job is to bring together everybody to share their information and to make sure that we're all doing that in an environment that is inclusive and is diverse. So as a woman in technology, I've been there. We've all been there, where you are the only woman in the room, or you are the only techie in the room, or sometimes you're the only techie woman in the room. And it was scary for me in my younger years. As I've got older, I don't let that worry me as much. But I'd love to see more women coming into those rooms, coming into those environments, so that it's no longer an issue. My hope is that that's less of an issue today as it was when I first started out. But we need to get better, and we need to make technology an accessible career for those coming into or considering as they come out of education which career to come into. So a career path in technology is one of my key goals to introduce women to. So today, like I say, we're going to show you those that are at the start of that journey and those that have succeeded in that journey, specifically Charlotte, who's going to come along and tell us what it's like to be at the top in one of the organisations with a tech role. And I'm really looking forward to her session. Sheryl and Daisy, are you there in the background, ladies? I do hope so.
Hello.
There she is. They are. Hello. Fantastic duo. Now I'm going to leave this information here on the screen for those that are watching for later on YouTube. But also, wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves as well. Sheryl, you're a relatively new MVP, aren't you? And your lovely daughter there in the background also looking to get into tech. So Sheryl, we met on moderating on an event, and it occurred to me that with your daughter there watching, we should have you along to talk about your experiences. So I'm really excited to hear your session today. But what I'll do is I'll hand over to you, and then you can introduce yourself, take over the screen, and do that for yourself.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. As you've mentioned, I'm a Biz Apps MVP. I became an MVP just under about 18 months ago now, which was a really exciting. I will put to bed the myth that MVPs are only MVPs because they are technically brilliant. There are MVPs that are technically brilliant. I actually became an MVP because of the things that I do in the community, largely actually around women in tech, and I'm going to go into some of those today. So I'm absolutely delighted, really delighted to have the opportunity to do this session today with my daughter Daisy, because it is actually a passion of mine to bring more women into our industry. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen now, hopefully. Okay, if anyone could let me know that
Yep, we can
We're
see
all
that.
able to-
You're all good.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'm just going to bring that back up. So our session today is going to be about passing the baton, okay, from woman to woman. As I've mentioned, that's something that that I'm really keen on, and I think Daisy hopefully will be excited about too once she moves forward in her technology journey. So just to do our quick introductions, actually, first. As I mentioned, my name is Sheryl. I am a senior functional consultant with a UK partner, Microsoft partner, called Curve Digital. I'm a Microsoft MVP in business applications. I'm a late career switcher, so I only actually came to the Power Platform itself about 3 years ago now, when I was, I'd like to say, an enthusiastic 50-something. Okay, so everything that I've learned about the Power Platform, I've learned because of the community. And because of that, one of my favourite sayings is we rise by lifting others, because really the community has taken me and lifted me up. And obviously, because I am such a late career switcher, another one of my favourite phrases is it's never too late, because that really is true. And I am the proof of that. So with me today, as we've mentioned, I've got my daughter Daisy. So Daisy is just starting out on her Power Platform journey, having studied creative media at university. And Daisy is going to talk a little bit about her journey so far in technology. I'm going to focus largely on, you know, the women in tech angle, particularly because it is actually just next week, it's International Women's Day. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that, and a little bit about the concept of equity versus equality, okay, which we're hearing quite a lot about at the moment. I'm going to touch on my experiences as a woman in tech, and how I am making a journey. I'm making a difference in my Power Platform journey and beyond that, and hopefully how you might be able to make a difference too. So, as I mentioned, next week on the 8th of March, it is International Women's Day. It is actually also at the moment in quite a lot of countries throughout the world, Women's History Month. We don't actually celebrate that at the moment here in the UK, which is a bit of a disappointment, because actually we have some very influential women that have been from the UK. And one of the ambitions for International Women's Day is actually to celebrate the achievement of women. One of the influential women that I particularly admire is actually Ada Lovelace. And, you know, for those who don't know who Ada Lovelace is or was, she was the daughter of the poet Lord Byron, and she was actually acknowledged as the world's first computer programmer. And her notes on the analytical engine that was first described by Charles Babbage were used by Alan Turing when he created his first modern computer way back in the 1940s. Now, a psychologist by the name of Penelope Lockwood has been doing some work on Ada Lovelace, and actually has been the inspiration for Ada Lovelace Day, which is in October. And she says that outstanding women can function as inspirational examples of success, illustrating the kinds of achievements that are possible for women around them. They demonstrate that it is possible to overcome traditional gender barriers, indicating to other women that high levels of success are indeed attainable. So it is so important that we do celebrate the achievement of women. International Women's Day is also about raising awareness about the discrimination actually that we do currently face, and I'm going to go into a little bit about my own personal experiences of that a little bit later on. And also, International Women's Day is all about taking action to drive gender parity. Now, according to Tech Nation, and I'm going to cite a few figures during the course of this session. Tech Nation is an organisation that have done some work on women in tech and gender discrimination and gender inequality. And according to them, in the UK, only 26% of people working in tech are women. Okay, which relates to roughly 3 in 12. And I guess for those of us women who are on the call, actually guys as well, we'll have seen that throughout our working lives, right? And the scary thing is that that figure has only increased by 7% in the past 4 years. So despite all of the things that we're all trying really hard to do to drive more equality, that figure isn't rising very quickly, right? The US, I would say, are doing slightly better than the UK at 31% women employed in tech. Worryingly as well, only 3% of women say that tech is their first choice of career. And again, a Women in Tech survey, which was actually published only just last month, cited the reasons, or some of the reasons, why women are put off from applying for roles in tech. So they include early misconception from a lack of education, male domination, lack of progression. So only 5% of tech leadership roles are filled by women. Lack of flexibility in recruitment and employment processes, recruitment generally favouring men, and the gender pay gap. And tech is one of the sectors with actually the biggest gender pay gap, and that currently stands at 16% in the UK, compared to the national average gender pay gap of 11%. I discovered actually, as I was working on this session, that there is a really interesting service on the Gov UK website, which publishes the gender pay gap figures for any organisation with a headcount over 250 employees in the UK. So if you are interested in, I don't know, I did a quick search, obviously Microsoft was my first one, right? But if you are interested in finding out what those figures actually are, head over to the .gov.uk website and just check out that service. It's really interesting. So the final point on International Women's Day is that the theme for this year is all about embracing equity, okay? And I'm going to talk next a little bit about what the difference between equity and equality is, because those words are actually used quite interchangeably, but they mean different things. So equality is when an individual or a group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. I really like this infographic that I found that shows quite simply, you know, what these differences are. So on the left-hand side, you can see that these people here, they're given the same resources, right? But because of the differences, because of their individual differences, each of them actually has different opportunities, right? Some are able to grasp opportunities, and for others, those opportunities are far out of reach. So in order to enable people to reach opportunities, to reach potential, what we need to do is meet people where they are, right? Equity recognises that each person has a different set of circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities that are needed for them to reach an equal outcome, okay? And that's sort of illustrated more by the infographic on the right-hand side. So because there are a smaller number of women, fewer in senior roles and less women leaders, we have to fight harder to get representation, both in terms of recruitment and progression, right? And many women like me are carers. I mean, I'm a single mum. I've been a single mum most of my working life, and I've got 4 kids, right? I've had a really big role, a caring responsibility for the longest time, right? And this means that, you know, people like us, when we have those caring responsibilities, we're not actually competing on a level playing field with our male counterparts, right? We don't have the time, we don't have the financial resources, and to be quite honest, a lot of the time we don't have the energy, right? That we would like to have. So why am I so passionate about all of this? Well, yeah, partly because it's had a direct impact on my own career, okay? But also because having worked in tech, I truly believe that we really need to get to a place where, you know, the technologies that we build must represent the society that we live in, okay? Secondly, I've got two daughters. Two of my four children are girls, right? And, you know, thinking of them and their careers, when we look at the figures now, the estimated time to close things like the gender pay gap is 30 years, right? Which is going to be too late for them in their own careers. And I want better for them. And thirdly, you know, I will do whatever I can to ensure that their opportunities and those of women like them are greater than mine have been. Because yes, the struggle has been real. I've been working in tech, as I've said, for almost 30 years, and these are some of the attitudes that I've had to deal with. By working in tech, you're stopping a man from providing for his family. You should be in front of a sink, not a computer. That actually came from a line manager of mine at one time. Girls, and this one is a bit scary because it's quite recent. Girls don't really like tech because they're not very good at it. This was a scary one. If you want to keep your job, maybe you should consider spending some time with me offline. Now, I don't know whether that guy wanted me to fix his Wi-Fi, but, you know, that concerned me at the time. And then this one, again, quite recent. The reason that we don't have many women in senior roles is because we don't get very many CVs from women who are qualified for the senior roles. I just want to show you this image as well that I came across just a couple of days ago while preparing this session. I recently registered for Microsoft Designer, okay, and I got in and I thought, right, okay, so let's do some really funky cool stuff for this session that we've got coming up. Let's find some nice graphics, you know. And I rushed in and I typed in, okay, I'm going to do a PowerPoint, so let's search for, you know, something in PowerPoint. Let's search for International Women's Day. And lo and behold, what did I find? Nothing at all on International Women's Day, but two things on International Men's Day, right? And this really highlights the point I was trying to make about us needing to change attitudes, needing to change hearts and mind, needing to take action actually to ensure that these systems that we're creating all the time are representative of every single one of us, right? So what can we do about this? Well, luckily, working in IT, we are natural problem solvers, right? We work in tech and we know how to solve problems. So what are the steps that we normally take when we're solving a problem? Well, we define the problem, we define the goals, we identify the root cause, we develop an action plan, execute the plan, evaluate results, and continually improve, right? And this problem is no different. So when I started looking at this, I thought, right, okay, what is the problem? Well, the problem is, you know, there really aren't enough of us women in tech right now. And the goal is to get more women in tech. That's quite easy. When it came to the root cause, that was a little bit more tricky. And, you know, you have to do a little bit of investigation. And again, you have to go back to some of these surveys that are done to look at some of the figures. And, you know, in this recent Women in Tech survey that I quite like, because I think it supports quite a lot of my arguments, and actually because it was only done very recently, so it shows an up-to-date state, you know, sort of state of the nation. 30% of respondents thought that it was down to employers actually to take responsibility for some of the issues that we're facing, and 30% thought it was about education, that the problems started much younger. In fact, 22% of the total of respondents thought that, you know, the issues regarding the lack of women in tech were to do with the attitudes that were that were actually engendered within the education system. Okay, this survey also did, they asked, what may be, if we were to develop a plan, and if we were to begin to try to fix this problem, what were the steps we could take that would help us to do that? Okay, so the top 3 benefits that women were actually looking for, that would attract them most, would be flexible working hours, remote working, and training within the company, right? Yeah, and if we had training within the company, maybe that would address the issue of a lack of CVs, right? But it's not just about, it's not just about benefits. It's also got to be about changing psychology, changing mindset, right? There is, and I've seen this myself, right? Just recently on LinkedIn, there was a discussion about, International Women's Day, actually, and I noticed a comment from someone I know, who really didn't understand why we couldn't just have equality, right? Why can't we just have equality? Why can't we just, make things equal? Why can't we just do that? And I think some of that has to do, maybe with the lack of understanding between equality and equity, but also in some ways, seriously, I think there is, a scarcity mindset, among some women in tech, that comes from the feeling that there's not enough to go round, right? When women are told that there are not many places at the table, it creates that dynamic of scarcity, and everything becomes competition. So that instead of working together to, create for equality, we can sometimes fight against each other, and we need to come together and overcome that. So what else can we do to tackle these problems? What can we put into our action plan? Well, I'm going to now just quickly talk about some of the things that I've done. There are lots and lots and lots of ways that people can help improve the situation, but these are some of the steps that I've taken myself. I became a STEM ambassador. Okay, so what are STEM ambassadors? The STEM ambassador is a voluntary role undertaken by someone who has a passion or a professional knowledge of STEM subjects, right? So what I do is I'm, registered as a STEM ambassador, and I go to schools and colleges, and I talk about working in technology, and I try to break down the barriers and the misconceptions that 20% of people think are the reason why more young women don't go into tech careers. Okay, and you can register as a STEM ambassador. I've put the URL for the website on there. Anyone can register as a STEM ambassador. Obviously there is an amount of checking to make sure that you're a suitable person to be going into schools and speaking to potentially vulnerable people. And but once you've done that, you're able to go in and you're able to share your knowledge and your enthusiasm with people and help, maybe, as I said, break down some of those misconceptions. One misconception, I think that I find is that when I do go into these schools and talk to young people, they seem to think, that technology is very much just about that, sitting in a dark cupboard at 4 a.m. writing code, eating Wotsits or whatever, and there is an element of that, and I have done that, right? So, and if you want to do that sort of work is still there. But a lot of what we do nowadays, now that we've got things like the Power Platform and rapid application development, and we have all of these suites of things that, help us to collaborate on moving technology forward, a lot of what we do is about people, right? And that's the message that I try to get over, that, if you're able to, build rapport with people, if you're able to go in, communicate well and have good conversations, and actually if you're interested, this I find, I've been asked what my superpower is, and I honestly think that my superpower is that I'm genuinely interested in people and I want to improve their lives and make their lives better. And that's the message that I try to give over when I go into schools as a STEM ambassador. Another thing we can do is mentoring. Okay, so I have mentored with an organisation called Wentors, and Wentors are women mentoring women. Okay, they have a very ambitious aim, which is to impact 8 million people worldwide by 2030, and they're actually doing quite well. They aim to build a community of women in technology that nurture and care for each other. Okay, and they are just about to start their International Women's Day 2023 cohort. I joined them in 2021 and I absolutely loved it. To be honest with you, I found that I got an awful lot out of being a mentor. Okay, so the sort of thing they do is that, they set up a series of mentoring sessions. They give you templates for what to discuss. So they make it really easy. They organise workshops with like really renowned speakers. I remember seeing Alison Shamir and Linda Citron speaking as part of my experience with Wentors. And I got to mentor at that time two young women who are now both in tech careers and who I still keep in touch with, right? So the URL for the website is on there if anyone is interested in becoming a Wentor. I'm currently also participating in the Power Platform School. The Power Platform School is not just for women, it's for actually disenfranchised or disadvantaged people within the UK and US at the moment, but who knows where it's going to go in the future. So we provide guidance and support, and also the attendees or the participants of the Power Platform School do get some element of training and technical and professional upskilling. Okay, it's an 8-week program. Participants get trained a couple of times a week and have at least one mentoring session. Although actually, I speak to my mentee most days. Okay, because she's actually really, really nice and we get on really well. So once the program is finished, there's going to be a partner day where the Power Platform School and the mentors actively try to find employment for the participants. So that's actually, I think, a really good way to do things. Another thing that I've done and that I can recommend is an organisation called Textilers. Now, Textilers was founded in May 2020, so it's almost 3 years old. It was founded by a lady called Foyin Olajide Bello and another lady called Ojumoke Toriola. Now, they were based in Nigeria. Okay, so obviously it's difficult for us in the UK as women in tech. It's more difficult again for women in other parts of the world. Okay, so this organisation, Textilers, started in Nigeria with an aim to empower women in technology within Nigeria, but actually now it's become global, right? I became a representative, the UK representative of Textilers a couple of years ago, and I'm now really, really honoured to be the Vice President of Textilers, which is just blows my mind, to be quite honest, because I'm so proud of what these ladies have achieved. They are amazing. So what they do and what we do is technology advocacy. We do mentoring, we do coaching, and we provide education. And we do this in a number of ways, as you can see on the screen. We do tech deep dive sessions, and a new cohort of those is just about to start on the 1st of April. We do monthly inspirational sessions. Again, we involve people from throughout the Power Platform and Microsoft stack, actually, and beyond. Okay, just to come along and talk to people who are just starting on their journeys, to give inspiration to them about what can be achieved. Okay, because yes, it's difficult. Yes, there are hurdles, but there is so much opportunity, right? And that's really what we want to harness, and we want to ensure that women benefit from, right, is the ability to take some of that opportunity, right? We do an amount of soft skills training as well, and again, we've had sessions on things like power voices, how to speak, truth to power, personal branding, with internationally renowned speakers like Alicia Dara and again Linda Citron came to speak to us at Textilers. And some of the links for some of the resources for Textilers are on the screen there, but obviously you can come and speak to me and I'm happy to tell you more about Textilers. I will just talk a little bit about also allyship, right? Allyship is really important, and allyship is described as allies for gender equality are really the more dominant group members, so men, okay, who actively promote gender equality and equity in the workplace through supportive and collaborative relationships. Now, you know, it's really, really important for us that we win the hearts and minds of our male colleagues and counterparts, okay, because being underrepresented, we really have a mountain to climb if we're going to try and do this by ourselves. I've put an image here of Scottish Summit because in my experience within our Power Platform and Microsoft community, we have a lot of good male allies, right? And my recent experience has been that, you know, a lot of the community events we have, not this one, because, you know, Sharon is incredible. And, you know, there are other community groups that are run by women. And but a lot of them, you know, there has been quite a bit of challenge about the fact that some of the bigger events are run by middle-aged white males, right? And Scottish Summit are actively trying to make a change, right? You know, they ensure that at least 50% of speakers are women, and they have this year ensured that at least 50% of the organising team are women as well. Okay, so, you know, these things, we are moving forward, right? But there is still a way to go. The Harvard Business Review actually just published a really interesting article at the end of last year, which was called "Men, Stop Calling Yourselves Allies, Act Like One," right? And the really important points from that paper were, you know, the things to remember: allyship is a verb, not a noun, okay? It's a journey, not a destination, and it's with and not for. Allyship perpetuates autonomy and not dependence. It's about decentering and not standing in the spotlight. And this is the one that I like, it's critical of the status quo, right? And this is the thing that is actually, we have to acknowledge is going to be difficult for men, because it's almost a challenge actually on their status, right? So yes, let's move more, let's try to get more allies, let's move more towards allyship, but let's remember actually how tough it is for our male colleagues as well. So I've talked a lot about you know, women in tech. If we just go back to our problem statement, the point of it really is all about getting more women and girls into tech and addressing the gender imbalance. It is a world of opportunity, and a tech industry that reflects our society has got to be good for everyone. So now you are going to hear from someone who is just starting out in their Power Platform journey, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what her journey has been like so far. So I'm just going to hand over now. Well, I'm just going to shuffle around a bit whilst I hand over to my daughter Daisy.
Hi, so I'm Daisy and I'm obviously Cheryl's daughter. Just a little bit about me and my background and kind of what I'm going to discuss with you guys today. So I'm just starting out on my Power Platform journey, and I'm going to talk a bit about the resources that I've utilised along that journey with you guys, just in case they might be helpful, if there's any kind of beginners. So I really began getting into tech. I did it at GCSE and then I went on to do it at A-level. And I kind of wanted to do something creative when I went to uni. So I kind of combined combined IT and the more like artsy kind of stuff I was doing at A-level. And I went on to do the creative media design course. It was a very broad course. It was creation of all types of media. That could be websites, apps, and here I am on the screen playing a VR game that we actually designed, and that's me in the Oculus headset. So after uni, I kind of wanted to get into the app creation career pathway. And that's when my mum had just started her own Power Platform journey, and she was kind of feeding me bits of information, like features that could be done on the platform. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. But I went into some general IT jobs after uni. I was lucky enough to actually get a UX design placement for 6 months with a small startup company in Bristol, which was great because at the time I found when I was looking for roles in IT, a lot of them were asking for, you know, a couple of years experience. And obviously at the time, the only thing that I had done was the uni course. So I kind of ventured out and did the UX design placement in Bristol for a little bit. And I started, whilst doing that placement, I started reaching out via LinkedIn to some of my mum's connections who were also on the Power Platform journey. So I spoke to some really highly skilled people around UX, not even just to do with UX, to do with all types of areas of the platform. And I really enjoyed speaking to these people. You know, they had great knowledge and they were so friendly and welcoming. And it kind of got me thinking really about starting my own kind of journey. So at the moment, I'm currently working in the NHS and I'm doing a service desk support role, but I am also taking my exams and networking and learning. And the thing that kind of got me into the Power Platform when I started discussing it with my mum was how much of it I can actually utilise in the job that I'm currently in. So at the moment in service desk, we do have, you know, approvals that need to be done. And mum started talking to me about, like, you know, Power Automate and how this could be all be automised. And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then I started thinking about it in terms of like hobbies and stuff that I like to do, you know, outside of the tech world. So I've recently began making my own clay earrings, so they are. And I started thinking about how I could use these apps to even kind of mold my hobbies and make them more convenient. So that was really the first thing that got me into it. So I asked my mum, where would I start on this journey? What would be the first thing that you would kind of recommend that I crack on and do? So she told me all about the Microsoft certifications, and she recommended I actually start with the PL 900 because this is kind of a like an overview of all the different areas of the Power Platform, but in quite a shallow knowledge, which then allows you to expand on later as you keep going through the kind of materials. So what I used for the certifications was Microsoft Learn. That was a really helpful tool for me. It kind of allows you guys have probably used it, but it allows you to go through and learn all the different kind of areas of the platform, and it actually gives you activities to complete along the way. So it's really good for anyone who's a complete basic beginner, just like myself. And obviously it's great for me because I have my mum here who's able to help me if I get stuck, but definitely people in the community would always help you out if you were struggling with anything. So the exams do cost to sit, but you can actually do kind of the fundamental virtual training days and actually get free exam certificates. So that means the whole process is free with the resources on Microsoft Learn, and then sitting the virtual training days, you then get to have this whole certification for free, which I think personally is amazing because nothing is free nowadays. So yeah, I was actually lucky enough to have Sharon, who is on school, and Mum as the moderators for the virtual training day that I did. And I have booked my exam, which is going to be in the future. I'm not telling my mum when though. So the next steps for me after doing the PL 900 is also to book in my PL 100. Which I am currently studying for alongside the PL 900 because that's just the way I prefer to do it. And then after I've done my PR 200, I think that's when Mum suggested I would be in a good kind of steady place to start applying for some of these junior roles. So it really is quite achievable for anybody who really wants to do this. And I've been keen on sharing that knowledge with other women. Some of my friends have actually joined me on some of the user groups I've been attending and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been great. So one of the most important things is LinkedIn, I would say, and talking about yourself and really like selling yourself online. And it's a way of getting to show the professional world really who you are and a little bit about yourself. So here's a screenshot of obviously my LinkedIn, and you can see at the top I've got the Power Platform icons, and that just really tells people straight away, you know, what's going on with my page, you know, what I'm enthusiastic about. I've got the little bio, and I've got some of the hashtags talking about, you know, women in tech, as you can see here. And it's so important that you utilize LinkedIn to kind of get yourself out there, because it's a way how people can find you. As I say, I've only just recently started this journey. I had probably, well, between 1 to 5 connections before I started doing Power Platforms, and now I've already got around 50 to 60 connections. So that's great, you know, people are starting to reach out. Not only that, it's not only about, you know, networking, it's also a great place to hear about things from people who have such, you know, amazing and interesting things to say. And the learning opportunities that you will find via LinkedIn are huge. There's always interesting stuff. So it's great. In terms of things that I've been looking at study groups via LinkedIn. So that can be things like Victor Dantas does a Zero to Hero kind of course, which has been great. And also just learning about like when the next community events are. There's lots of information on LinkedIn about, you know, what's coming up next, what you can get involved with. So that brings me on nicely to a little bit about the kind of community. And this is something that really struck me on my journey, because I didn't realize it would be so inclusive and yeah, it's a lovely feeling. So I went to my first user group in January, wasn't it, Mum? Yep, January. And this was the Birmingham user group I went to. And it was at the Wesleyan, I think it was called, in the centre of Birmingham. It had a super cool glass lift that I was amazed to go in. And when we first went in, we had some speeches by Neil Parkhurst, and he was discussing custom pages. So that was a really interesting speech. He kind of similar to how I was thinking about my hobbies alongside like what I could do with platform alongside my hobbies. He was showing us an app he had created to do with like storing all of his music. So that was kind of similar. That was one of his hobbies. That was quite similar. So I really enjoyed that speech. It was you know, great. I learned some really interesting things. After we had the talk of Neil, we had the Gravitas recruitment from Manchester, and they were talking about, you know, roles in Dynamics and Power Platforms. We did a little session on, you know, buzzwords that are important to have in your LinkedIn profile. That was great. We also had the chance to meet lots of new people. I connected with lots of new people in Birmingham, and they were also lovely. We went for some drinks afterwards, and we had some lovely food available, all free of charge again, so that's great. And then I went on to the Bristol user group in February, and that one was held at the Engine Shed, just next to Temple Mead Station. Super modern, super cool. And there was two speakers again, two speakers at this event. The first one was Sumit Kumar, and he walked us through some features on the wave 1 of the platform release. And that was really interesting to kind of hear more about some of the new implementations. I think he was talking about how Bootstrap 5 was going to become available to make the UI better. So that was something that was great to learn about. And I also then had a session with Adrian Cole, and he did a little demo for us based on a kind of expenses app that involved a Canvas app, an AI builder. And also he also showed us further then how to send approvals through Teams and kind of accept approvals for these expenses through Teams. And I thought this was a great tool because I could see exactly how I could implement something like this in my current role as service desk support, because we are constantly, you know, approving and rejecting these requests. So that was really cool. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to obviously be here speaking today at this event. This is one of my other things I've been doing, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Sharon, for the opportunity. The next thing I'm going to be attending in terms of community events is going to be the Birmingham one again at the end of March, and just to see really where my journey takes me from here. But yeah, I shall say thank you, and thank you, Amber, for keeping us on track. And thank you, Sharon, again, for inviting us to talk, me and my mum together. It's been really great. Thank you for listening to me. And then the last one.
Thank you, Daisy. Cool. So yeah, thank you, Daisy. I mean, well done. So yeah, those are here on screen. We just have our connection details. If anyone would like to connect with either of us, please do. We are both available for questions now, or if anyone would like to contact us with any questions about anything that we've talked about today, by all means get in touch with either of us. We'd be delighted to hear from you.
Awesome stuff, ladies. Just fantastic, and some stats in there that I didn't know, Cheryl, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I can provide, actually, I was going to say I'm happy to give the slides. If anybody would like them, just get in touch. I've put all the references for all of the places where I've got the figures from, and obviously all the resources are in the slide deck, so I'm happy to share that with anyone.
Perfect. So if you're watching on YouTube now, that will be below in the comments. The lovely Amber will make sure that that's published alongside, and also where we can go and download that from. So again, sharing, I guess, Daisy's message, please do go and connect with Sheryl and Daisy on LinkedIn and Twitter and all those lovely places where we can stay in touch, keep sharing, and find out more about what the ladies are up to. Especially interested to know, Daisy, how you get on with those exams. Best of luck with those. Microsoft exams can be a little tricky, but once you get started, I'm sure you're going to absolutely love it and get addicted to it, much like the rest of us do. Thanks to everybody that has attended today. Thank you to my team in the background. We have the lovely Luke and Amber, who have been moderating all day and doing all the speaker prep for us. We have Sancho Harker also in the background, who has been in the chat and helping out with any questions during the course of the day. And it's been an absolute delight to be your host or hostess for the Cambridge Power Platform Women in Tech event. So the M365 Community Days have loads of events on. Please do go over to Community Days and you'll be able to see loads of events on their site, which are run by user groups and communities, and specifically, you know, those events that are community driven. So that's where volunteers like me and my team get together and ask a bunch of speakers to come along and help share and learn. So, as I said, it's been a fantastic day. Thank you to all of our speakers. We'll put all of the sessions up onto YouTube for you. Hopefully they'll be there before International Women's Day, which I think is about midweek on the 8th of March. And thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate your time here. And once again, see you soon at the next event.